He never really grew up not where it mattered. You can see it in the way he talks about dreams he'll never chase, in the passion that burns bright but never builds. He's magnetic, creative, full of spark, but something's missing. And if you look close enough, you'll see he's not moving forward. He's running in place. In the next 7 minutes, you'll understand 3 things. Why some men stay boys their entire lives. What psychology calls this invisible trap. And how to finally break free if you're brave enough to face what's been hiding. But I need to warn you, if you've ever felt stuck between dreaming and doing, this is going to hurt. Have you ever met someone who looks alive but never truly moves? He talks about big plans, impossible dreams, endless potential. Yet nothing ever leaves the page. Every new idea burns bright for a moment, then fades into the same quiet nothing. It's not that he lacks ambition or intelligence. It's that somewhere deep inside, he's terrified of becoming real. You'll find him in cafes, sketching worlds that never exist, falling in love like it's salvation. He's magnetic, but his fire never becomes warmth. Because to him, commitment feels like death. Choosing one thing means killing all the others. So he keeps life in draft mode, floating between possibilities, allergic to grounding. It's not freedom, it's avoidance dressed as passion. Most people see his energy and call it potential, but potential that never turns into reality becomes a cage of its own. He's not lazy, and he's not lost. He's stuck in an invisible loop, the same story playing on repeat, disguised as endless beginnings. Carl Jung once said, "The boy who cannot age becomes the man who cannot live." He called this the Puer Aeternus, the eternal boy trapped in a man's body. A soul addicted to potential, allergic to limits, terrified of becoming ordinary. He lives chasing greatness but runs from responsibility, mistaking motion for growth. And the tragedy is, he doesn't even know he's living out an ancient myth. To the Puer, every choice feels like death. The death of freedom, of fantasy, of endless possibility. So he stays suspended between dreaming and doing, flirting with life but never committing to it. He confuses endless options with purpose, novelty with meaning. His relationships burn fast and vanish quicker. His projects start in fire and end in ashes. He is forever in pursuit of what could be, but terrified to face what is. This isn't immaturity. It's psychological paralysis. The Puer Aeternus isn't afraid of failure. He's afraid of reality itself. Because to him, reality means limits, and limits mean loss. But no one is born this way. Every eternal boy begins as a child who was never allowed to grow. Sometimes he was smothered with love, other times starved of it completely. In one version, his parents hovered over every mistake, cushioning him from pain. In the other, they were ghosts, distant, distracted, emotionally absent. But both roads lead to the same place, a boy unprepared for life. The overprotected child learns that the world is dangerous, that someone will always step in. He never builds resilience, never learns that discomfort is part of growth. The neglected child retreats inward and starts dreaming his own reality. He builds fantasies where he's powerful, safe, untouchable worlds that can't betray him. And those worlds become his escape, his armor, his identity. Both boys are missing the same thing, initiation. The passage from innocence to responsibility. No one ever taught them how to anchor their spirit in structure. So they grow up fearing adulthood, not because they're weak, but because they were never shown how to face it. Every challenge feels like abandonment. Every failure feels like death. And that fear shapes everything he becomes or refuses to become. What if adulthood doesn't scare him because it's hard, but because it feels like death? To the eternal boy, growing up means losing everything that made him special. It means trading imagination for structure, freedom for duty, possibility for permanence. So he keeps himself in motion, chasing, dreaming, escaping anything but standing still. Because stillness forces him to face what he spent his whole life avoiding, reality. This isn't laziness. It's fear disguised as freedom. He avoids commitment not to rebel, but to survive. He lives in spontaneity, addicted to the thrill of beginnings, terrified of endings. Structure feels like a trap, stability like a cage, responsibility like exile. So he builds a life of motion, full of spark, but empty of roots. But no one can float forever, because the longer he stays unanchored, the heavier the weight of potential becomes. Every missed chance, every abandoned dream, starts to rot inside him. And beneath the charm, beneath the brilliance, something begins to crack. That's when the collapse begins. What happens when the fantasy finally breaks? When he looks around and realizes that life kept moving and he didn't? The job's gone. The relationship's over. The dreams are half-finished ghosts. And the silence that follows is unbearable. Because it's no longer filled with hope. It's filled with the echo of everything he almost became. This is the collapse of the eternal boy, not loud, but devastating. It's the moment he understands that potential isn't a promise, it's a debt. That all the freedom he protected so fiercely has turned into a cage. He starts to see his reflection not as a dreamer, but as a man haunted by what-ifs. And the weight of unrealized possibility becomes heavier than any responsibility ever could. This is the cliff every lost man reaches. One path leads deeper into denial, bitterness, blame, distraction. The other demands something far harder, surrender. Because before he can grow, he has to grieve. And that grief is where true transformation begins. What if the only way to grow up is to let something inside you die? At this point, he faces two choices: keep running or finally stop. He can double down on the fantasy, blame the world, chase distractions, sink deeper into denial. Or he can do the unthinkable, turn inward and ask, "What am I so afraid of?" That single question marks the beginning of the end and the start of something real. To truly grow, the eternal boy must die, not in spirit, but in dominance. He has to surrender the illusion of limitless potential and choose something real. Because grounding himself doesn't kill his magic, it gives it form. The dreamer must finally become the builder. This is the symbolic death Jung spoke of, the moment when the boy releases control. He stops chasing perfection and starts embracing process. He learns that devotion is not confinement, and responsibility isn't a trap. It's the foundation for purpose. The fantasies that once kept him safe now become fuel for creation. And for the first time, he begins to see beauty in limits. So here's what you're going to do. Close your eyes. Think of one dream you keep talking about but never start. Now ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Not failure, not judgment. What truth am I avoiding by keeping this in fantasy? That question is the door, and walking through it is the only way forward. When the boy inside finally meets the man he was meant to become, something extraordinary happens. The imagination that once escaped reality now learns to build within it. The chaos becomes creation, the longing becomes direction. He doesn't lose his fire. He learns to give it purpose. Integration is the art of balance. It's not about killing the child within, but fathering him, giving him safety, structure, and space to thrive. The man stops searching for freedom outside and begins cultivating it within. He becomes both the protector and the poet, the anchor and the storm. And in that harmony, his presence becomes power quiet, steady, and real. This is the essence of true manhood, not perfection, but wholeness. A grounded soul with a wild heart. A dreamer who finally stayed. He learns to love not as escape, but as devotion. To work not for praise, but for purpose. Because the world doesn't need more boys pretending to be men. It needs men who faced their boys and chose to grow whole. If this touched something real, leave in the comments, "I see the boy." That's all you need to write. And if you know someone stuck in endless potential, share this. Because sometimes a man just needs permission to finally land.